Okay, in this video, we are going to go through some sentences that are a little bit misleading. And I think sometimes when we see these sentence shift words like though, we just want to rush in and think, okay, it's the opposite of something, it's the opposite of something. So you always want to make sure that you note the whole sentence. And of course, you look at the structure and you can see that in this case, this is not an exact opposite. Why? Well, let's analyze this sentence structure here. It says, though less celebrated, Haydn was far more blank than Mozart. So is the blank the opposite of celebrated? That's the question. Well, how do we answer that question? We don't really know because we won't know until we read the entire sentence. Notice the marks there at the end. So we see that we're defining the blank. It says to Mozart's 41 symphonies, Haydn penned 106. So wait a second, this doesn't necessarily have something to do with celebrated or not celebrated. It's the idea that one of them wrote more symphonies than the other. That is, Haydn wrote 106 symphonies, far more than Mozart, who only wrote 41 symphonies. And so you can see that we're taking this whole phrase here, this kind of the multiple keywords, the idea that, okay, one person wrote more than the other. So what's that word meaning? To create more. And we go through our answer choices, and we end up, well, let's go one by one. Obscure can be an obscure composer, but that's not what we're going for here. So if you were trapped, celebrated. Oh, everyone knows him, he's less celebrated, but he's obscure. Wait a second. So again, you want to be careful. Congenial just means friendly, doesn't work. Patronize. So you can also convince yourself, well, if he's less celebrated, not many people knew him, but he was patronized, means that many people came to him to ask him for symphonies. You see, I start trying to make connections unless I read the entire sentence and notice that we're not really contrasting with the word celebrated. So patronize is out, structured is out, and we're saying simply that, hey, he wrote more symphonies than Mozart, so he was more prolific. So again, don't always rush into thinking, oh, there's though, there's celebrated, because of though it's a sentence shifter and it's the opposite of celebrated. Read the whole thing. So let's try another more difficult sentence and a more subtle one. So again, we want to, of course, look through here. We're going to analyze the structure and, of course, read the entire sentence. Starting with, far from viewing Malcolm X as a heretic, members of the Muslim Brotherhood believed that the charismatic leader's views were indeed more doctrinally blank than those of more purportedly orthodox sects. So we have a sentence shift here of the far from viewing, that is, one person is viewed differently by another group. There's either a change in perception, or in this case, it's just far from viewing. They didn't see him as a heretic, someone who went against a religion. So they saw him as someone who was favorable or who followed the religion properly. But when we get down here, is that the word that goes in the blank? And the answer is no. So just because you find that a sentence is a sentence shifter, you find a key word here, doesn't mean the blank is automatically the opposite. So what is the word? What is our own word that we need to put here in the blank? Well, so let's kind of, again, note the sentence structure. We have far from viewing, it's not a heretic, but we want to notice here some of these multiple keywords, some of these multiple clues. So they believe that his views were indeed more doctrinally blank than those of more purportedly orthodox sects. So this is important too. We want to take all this together. The idea of far from viewing sentence shifter, heretic, so they don't see him as a heretic. And then the idea that his views were doctrinally more blank than those who call themselves orthodox. We follow the right way. Well, his views were actually more what? So more orthodox or more true to the religion. So what words capture that? So let's look at the answer choices. Pure, doctrinally pure. It was true to the religion, it was pure. That could definitely work. The still doesn't make sense. That means to take something just to make it more of the essence, and just doesn't work in context. Compromise is a negative word. And so we're going for something positive here because they viewed him as being pure to the religion, not compromising it. Ambiguous just means vague, doesn't work here. Differentiated means having different layers, different qualities to it, and there's nothing different going on here. It's simply pure. His views were pure, they were not compromised, and in fact they were more pure than those who called themselves orthodox. And so there's our answer. So again, the idea is, yeah, we see a sentence shifter, we see a word, but this word here, heretic, which will help us solve the answer, doesn't mean that the blank is going to be the opposite of heretic. So you will definitely see some of these on the GRE as well. It's not always as straightforward. Just because it's a sentence shifter doesn't mean it's going to be the exact opposite, but the sentence shifter will help you unravel the sentence and find the answer.